Jolly shuffling around.
Man, you just have to work late tonight.
I'm gonna be there at 6 this morning.
I'm not sure that early.
Did you move?
Well, that's nice.
I think the baby is saying.
If you're running late, you get a little pressure.
I didn't leave it in your office. I was gonna say.
Well, you have to be there.
Okay.
Somebody really has to take my file. Gotta have money.
I'll see you guys here. Okay.
I'll bring you a Danish holiday.
I'll be that way. Hey, how are you? Yeah, we know you.
I still got 8th grade. Oh, look, I'm right there. You're wearing that. I would like
Hey Tammy,
Hello.
thanks for being here at our meeting. You can sit anywhere. Tammy's my neighbor. You all know that?
Really?
Oh, not too far.
Just across town. Across the big tunnel,
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're going to call our June Board of Directors meeting to order. If you will, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amanda is going to read our mission and vision this evening.
All right, the mission statement. High Point Academy's mission is cultivating lifelong learners in a student-centered environment. Vision statement. High Point Academy's vision is to be an exemplary school of choice for academically minded families.
Thank you. And PJ is going to read our 3 R's.
The 3 R's. We practice the 3 R's. Rights, the right to a quality education, the right to a safe environment, the right to reach my potential. Respect. I respect my classmates. I respect my teachers. I respect myself. Responsibility. I am responsible for my education. I am responsible for my actions, and I am responsible for my opportunities.
Thank you very much. And Matt will do our invocation this evening.
Thank you, Lord, for the time that we have to meet together tonight. And thank you for the school and the good things you're doing in the lives of students and families here. Just ask that you would give us wisdom and grace as we seek to serve the school in the short and long term, and give each of us the grace to be able to see clearly the things that are most helpful. And thank you for these board members, and just ask that you would be with us during our meeting tonight. In the name of Jesus.
Do we have a motion to approve the meeting agenda for June 24, 2024?
Motion.
Matt, a second?
Second.
Josh, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are going to take a moment for our Grizzly Spotlight. This evening, we're going to recognize 2 of our board members whose term will be expiring at the end of the month. Want to thank Amanda for your years of service on the board. Want to appreciate the time and your talents that you've given, and just all that you've done for furthering the mission of HPA. Really appreciate that. We have for you a plaque to thank you for your service, and small gift card for you. And also Anne Marie, who has served us since 2017, I believe.
She came to the building.
She came in the building. She has served as our treasurer all those years also. Want to thank you again for your time and talents. Where we are with our school is nothing short of all the efforts that you've put forth for us. So appreciate your time and all your care and attention. Know how much this school means to you.
It's been an honor and privilege.
They're thankful for you. Put everyone on the spot. If anybody else would like to make any comments for Anne Marie and Amanda. I know that they've served the board well.
I'll say something quick just for Anne Marie. I had last year just to kind of be on the finance committee, and your engagement and the amount of work you put in is impressive. And I can tell just by observing for a year. So we're gonna miss you, but also most importantly, thank you for the last 8 years. I think that's just important to note. That I wanted to share that observation.
I've served with Anne Marie the longest. I mean, with longer than I've served with any other board member. And Anne Marie, what are we gonna do without you? I love you to death. And Anne Marie came on the board during a time when we really needed a treasurer to come in and help us do well and get our books to where they needed to be and from the board level. And Anne Marie did that. And she's continued to do that. I'm so thankful for you. So proud of you, and
Thanks.
you'll be greatly missed.
Yeah, the board's in a great position, great people, work really well together, all working towards the same vision, what's best for students. Stephanie, David, Gray, Tori, they're doing a great job on the financial side. It's just good timing, since it's come up. I just decided not to renew it because I felt like, it's just the right time. So academics are doing well at the school. I'm excited to see how they'll continue to grow, and I still have an 8th grader here, so I'll be around. And I'll find ways to volunteer, and I'm gonna make sure there's, good transition, and it's good. I'm being strong.
All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from our May 22nd meeting. Those were uploaded for review. Is there any comments regarding those? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the May 22nd, 2024 minutes?
So moved.
Kyle, is there a second?
Second.
Matt. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Okay, our May 24 financial report.
So as always, days cash on hand sitting around 120 days, very healthy. In that regard, we do see the enrollment, of course, lower than the original budget, but the budget's based off 1230 right now. Just kind of where the 135 day count came in, which is what it's based off of. Through May, the debt service coverage ratio is reflected at a 1.02, which is above 1, which is good. Not yet meeting the requirements of 1.1. There are, some additional federal funds to come in the month of June. I'm gonna skip to the statements for the slide.
If you keep your scroll, it should go down.
Oh, I'm doing it backwards. Okay, sorry. Okay. There we go. All right. So the total revenue is at 94% remaining. The actual state revenue for May was lower as expected than the previous months because they did the adjustment to the 135 day account. You were getting paid off the 45 day account, which was 1265-ish students, and then again 135 day account, which is in March was around 1230. So it was a decrease of about $150,000 in the month of May. You can see the same thing in June. So that's kind of showing how you've received more money. You have less percent remaining in that 1 month here. There are still federal funds, about $50,000 in IDA and upwards to 100 in ESSER, audit and payroll for like the last quarter. That's to come in and be claimed. So those are expenses that, except for the month of June, have April, May expenses shown here, but not yet received revenue because they get reimbursed whenever you send the last payroll register, which will be in July. We can see still 41%, 41% used for other objects, which means 60% remaining for expenses, and that's where the bond payment comes into play. So you'll see the arrow works here. That $1,199,000 is where that's going to basically eat up the majority of that line, even though it's going to still be about $100,000 on your budget for that line, which is good. And that's $470,000 principal, and then the other half of $729,000 worth of interest. And so that's why that's kind of putting it down here to show that, hey, we're not at $1,683,000 to be good. When that comes out at the end of June, you're actually going to be lower at, right now, it's showing $21,000 to the positive through May 31st. Again, with 1 month of activity to go. The budget is $134,000. So when you include the $65,000 of capital, that's about a $10,000 buffer from where the $190,000 line you want to be at in terms of budget. So that's less than 1/100 of 1% margin. But at least it is in the positive through May 31st, and it's kind of in the right direction, I suppose. And then at the bottom, base cash on hand is all good. Any questions on the May financial report?
Is there any reason to believe that we're not going to hit the ratio?
I mean, I can't guarantee that you will, but I can't say that you won't either. It's, like I said, it's pretty close on the margin. The funding's going down for state, but your federal reimbursements and the VSDA federal reimbursement coming in for May likely. So it should increase the bottom line, but $10,000 margin on the $15 million, $60 million budget.
How much do we have in federal funds coming in?
Like you said, there's about 50,000 in IDEA that we'll claim, and then ESSER, it's about 90. There's 12 employees that are paid out of ESSER funds, more or less, part of their salary. District office did it a little bit different this year. It used to be, if you had somebody that their total salary was $10,000 and you were paying $1,000 of it out of federal funds, you could claim all 1,000 of that off the first 2 paychecks and be done. They went back this year and said that you could only claim the percentage each check of their total salary. So in that example, we could only claim 10% of each check. So whereas in years past, we've been able to wipe out all of that towards the front, this year we've had to extend it throughout the year, which is what's slowed that down. But yeah, you're probably looking altogether 130, 140,000 that'll be coming in. We'll also get reimbursed a little bit for the SCASA conference that the administrators just went to. We'll get reimbursed about 12,000 of that will come in.
One other kind of
That means,
Just get reimbursed for.
will that make the P&L look better, or is
Yeah,
it already
It'll
approved?
add to the bottom line.
no,
I just heard about
it's-
100.
Cause you don't.
It's not been recorded as a receivable
Yeah.
yet. So if the,
That'd be income.
Yeah.
All those items.
Mhm.
So I'd say that as an accountant, that makes me feel like we have a little bit of a tailwind.
Yes. It still sounds very close.
um,
Any other questions for David regarding the May financial report? David. Moving on, we have our FY 25 budget.
That is,
Click that, those three dots in the almost top right. Yeah, and then do present.
that's cool. Alright, so we kind of talked about this previously, but just the high marks. Here, you know, the left-hand column is the labels, the second column is the FY 24 current revised budget, FY 25 budget is the far right column. So the big number is the state aid to classroom number. You can see a slight increase there, and that's based off of 1230 students. It is based off of a dollar amount of $4,250 per weighted unit. The legislation hasn't passed yet, probably won't until July. So that's the conservative figure from your authorizer based off of the House version of the budget. So that's an increase of about 4% per weighted unit, which is actually pretty good for schools in the charter school district. Just kind of to sit on that, you know, that's $14,800,000 of the total $16 million in the budget based off of the 1230 enrollment, which is why enrollment is always a key topic of discussion. Because that's where 80% or so of your revenue comes into play. Going back up, just one of the things that kind of changed was the after-school cater. Was bringing more revenue and then also has some more expenses. It just increased on both the top and the bottom of that line. You'll see on a side comparison from each year. Another note is that compared to previous years, there's not really any federal revenue in here. This is all the federal revenue there is. Title I went away 2 years ago, I think, and then this, as of June 30th, is the cutoff for ESSER funds from the COVID relief. So the only federal revenues in here is IDA, which is largely salary reimbursed for special education teachers, and then there's ATSI money, which is actually included in the department budgets already, so it's kind of helping out. It's not an extra revenue there. And then on the expense side of things, some of the movements you might see between different lines might be just shifting of teachers or adding a coach that was a teacher sort of thing. For the most part, the one that I was going to point out was under supervision of special programs. We had some people, I think, in the attendance office or something that was working, getting paid via ESSER. So that's kind of where that was at, and that's why there's a decrease. There's ESSER funds going away. The redemption of principal and interest, you can see it change, but that's just because each year you're going to be paying a little bit more principal, a little bit less interest, like in the amortized loan there. The total dollar amount is pretty consistent within $1,000 through debt service, and that's going to be where it stays throughout the remainder of the bond. And I think on the expense side, just overall, there's a 1% increase to retirement, so it's around 26% match across the board, and then a 3.5% increase to insurance because it's supposed to go up around 7% as of January 1st, which is half a year, so split in half. That leaves us with a bottom line of $206,000. Positive. $190,000 is kind of the mark to get 1.10 debt service coverage ratio. So that would be a 1.11 debt service coverage ratio. Again, biggest cash on hand, you're slowly always having to build that to meet your coverage. So your cash kind of goes up for the most part. Expenses trying to stay consistent. We did not, don't that I have for any questions, did not at this time put any add back capital expenditures into this 1.11 number, whereas for the FY24 when we talked about, we had, kind of factored in already $65,000 of capital stuff that could be added back in to meet the coverage ratio.
What was the buffer amount?
16,000. So if we want to, if the per pupil amount is 4,250, if you receive 2.6 that for a special needs student, that's basically one special needs student.
I had just a question. So 4,250 is the assumption. We're not sure exactly what it's going to be yet, right?
Correct. It could go up or down. That's the assumption. Sounds like it might go up from there. That's what happened last year in June, I think, was it when, and that was the first or second year the new funding model was made change. So that would be very positive, and $100 increase, for instance, would be what, $70,000 or more. Help, so.
And one other question on that prior page. We'll say, I've heard, I think we said here that our payment on the bond is the highest it'll be. When we say that, is that just the amortization of the interest, or is it the actual payment?
The annual combination of the interest and the principal. So it was like the total annual payment was like 1.2 million the first year, then it was 1.3 combined principal and interest. So it kind of peaked at 1.5, I think. And you just paid a little bit more principal, a little bit less interest every year to keep it steady.
But the cash going out is the same. It's just
Yeah. The cash is the same.
So the issue with the legislature is it's both on the funding per pupil and what the teacher's salary was, right? Like we're still waiting on.
Yeah, the when they pass, they're gonna kind of give you both at the same time. Yes.
So those are the two main factors that are going to influence anything regarding this budget.
Correct.
What's figured in on the salary side right now? Is it expected to? Well,
It's, the salaries are in the budget as Mr. Sherman would like to pass it.
right.
Yeah. So, just kind of recap it. The budget was built on 12/30. And, you're kind of looking to estimate what your, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong, 135-day count would be. So day one, we need to be as close to 1,300 as we can be for this budget to work. And I think we're further along than we were last year at this time, and it's around like 1190 right now. Does that sound?
12:06. That's
12:06.
4:30. What time did you do that, Jeff?
Good day?
About an hour ago.
About an hour ago, it was 12:06.
Okay. So just something to think about. And the 4,250 that we're projecting, we think is conservative, right? And we really won't know until July. And you mentioned the highest point of the bond payments. I think that's worth noting. Some other things that are included in here is about $40,000 worth of funds for like roof leaks, parking lot repair, and furniture. So there's a little buffer there. Then if you were to renegotiate the upward lease, that's potential upside. And if you were to lease out the gym or the PAC, that's not included in here. That could be something, but
Yeah, we can get some Medicaid benefits.
in Medicaid billing, yep. But I will say that Stephanie, Sandy, David Gray, Mr. Sherman, they've worked super hard on this. This is probably the most accurate budget we've ever had. With payroll being 70% of the budget, you have to really get in there and look at payroll right and benefits correct and retirement. And so we feel like it's a good budget. It will need to be closely monitored.
Do you normally get a surge of people enrolling at the very last minute? Is that what you're expecting?
Sometimes we get a surge and it's better, sometimes we have some pull away. Last year they pulled away, the year before we had a surge, so it's really hard to say. We feel like we're gonna start about where we did last year, is what we're thinking, just based on number. Of course, Joe's gonna go over that for you in just a minute. We feel like we're gonna be about where we were last year.
We do need to pass the budget before the end of June to be in compliance, correct?
Yeah. Right, as I was saying, we have to pass a budget tonight. This is what's been presented, as Anne Marie said, it has been worked through and worked through and worked through. And gotten us to where we are with what Anne Marie was just saying, some things to keep an eye on. And I want to echo what Anne Marie said, thank you guys, thanks for all the work to get this where it is. Those that worked on it, appreciate it.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
If they come back for some reason at less, can the budget be amended?
Yeah.
Have to be.
So right now, it's fine, because
We-
it could be amended.
We feel that the budget for K-12 is secure. Biggest problem we have is an argument between whether to build a vet school at Clemson, put more money into Dartmouth School of Business. That's the biggest holdup. K-12 just happens to be a part of it. We feel like the 4250 that David said is a conservative number. We're probably gonna get that, maybe more, I don't know. Is that right, David?
Yeah, in the actual House version, it was an 8% increase to the total the district was gonna get when I looked at it on the website a couple months ago. But the other factor is how many students are in the district, and the district's growing, which means we have to decrease the amount. So Nick Michael, one of the big wigs over there, kind of gave us this figure, which is a 4% increase, and he's been pretty accurate in years past with the new funding model, so I would go with that.
Are there any other questions?
It's encouraging that you said this is the most accurate.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
There's one thing I wanted to mention, I know Brian, we talked to the finance committee, you have ideas if we were to have them in the budget.
There are some things we can do. None of them are great.
But there's actions that are.
All right, any other questions on the budget as presented? Do we have a motion to approve the FY 25 budget as presented? Motion. Anne Marie, thank you. Is there a second? Amanda, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations. I'm gonna give a round of applause for that one. It's not great, but that was a lot of good work.
Thank you for all your help.
Most definitely. All right, up next, we do have, every year, there are 2 appointment seats on the board that are, up for appointment. The terms that are ending are Anne Marie and Matt Nesberg, whose terms are ending at the end of June. We have those 2 seats to appoint. We have had conversations with both Anne Marie and Matt, as you heard, she's not gonna seek reappointment. Through conversations with Matt, He has expressed his willingness to continue to serve in an appointed role. And I want to thank him for all of his time that he has given, his expertise, his professionalism, his knowledge. And I'm really thankful for all that you've done and are willing to continue to do. So I would like to make a motion to appoint Matt Nesper for a 2-year term beginning July 1, 2024. Is there a second?
Second.
Kyle, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I guess I'll abstain from that vote.
Oh, yeah, you can abstain. Well, if you'd like to. Matt abstains from the vote for his appointment. Thank you. And the second position, as you know, we had previously spoke with Teresa Rollins, who came in a recommendation for Kyle, who brings a wealth of financial knowledge to kind of help fill a hole that Anna Marie is leaving us with. And through conversations with her that I have had, she is willing to accept that position if we appoint her. And that is what I would like to do this evening, is make a motion to appoint Teresa Rollins as our second appointee for a 2-year term beginning July 1. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Teresa cannot be here this evening. She's on vacation, so we're excited for her to get all that out of the way before she jumps on the board and doesn't have that. Jesus. So we are going to, since Matt's term will begin July 1, he needs to be sworn in for his next term. Mary Ellen's going to do that for us.
Yeah. So stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Matt Nesper,
I, Matt Esper,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I have been appointed,
to which I have been appointed,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect, and defend
and preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of this state,
and the United States.
the United States.
So help me God.
So,
Congratulations.
Thank you, Matt. Just want to say again, I really appreciate all that you have given to the board. And will continue to. In transparency, Teresa would be coming to our next meeting, and that would be her first time to be sworn in. However, there will likely be some things that she's going to be involved in over the next month. So just in transparency, we will likely convene a quorum and swear her in remotely at some point before the next board meeting. We may not, but just in transparency, to let you all know that that will likely happen before our next official board meeting. And next up, we have our board officer elections. Every year, the officer positions of treasurer, secretary, vice chair, and chair are up for the taking. Those are appointed or elected after the appointments have been made, so it is time to do that. The first position we will select is treasurer. As discussed before, Teresa has expressed her interest and willingness to take on that position of treasurer. As we've discussed before. Is there a motion to appoint Teresa as treasurer, Teresa Rollins as treasurer for a 1-year term beginning July 1? A motion. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Kyle? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Continuing on with secretary, Tika has done a wonderful job over this last year. Thank you for taking that on and has, as previously discussed, expressed her willingness to continue in that position as well.
Motion for that.
Thank you, Matt. Is there a second for Tika as secretary?
Second.
Josh, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The position of vice chair, again, with, conversations with the board and individuals, Matt has, served in this position over the last year and expressed his willingness to continue to serve in that role. And I want to thank you for that. Is there a motion to elect Matt Nesberg as vice chair for one-year term beginning July 1?
So
Kyle, is there a second? Anne Marie, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do you abstain? Okay, that makes sense. And lastly, we have, our chair role that, I have served in over the last year, and I've been super grateful for the opportunity to, serve in this position. It's been, a learning experience, but one that I've enjoyed. I truly have enjoyed, and would like to continue in for the next year as our board chair.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Matt. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Josh? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I'll abstain from that one too, just to make it. Okay, thank you all. That's great. Wonderful. And we have our board meeting schedule for next year. So okay. We have traditionally had our board meetings on the fourth Monday. And also, 1 second, I can't do two things at once. Where am I?
It's good.
Great, are you on? Can I email something to you?
you can.
That way, since I didn't. Let me just share it with you. You think that'll work?
That should work.
Ray, G. Lancaster, HBA.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I didn't get that in the folder for you guys. The board meetings have traditionally been held on the fourth Monday of the month. And we've always run into, the Memorial Day, in May and Thanksgiving and try to roll it into that first week of December. So what, I've drafted is the meeting schedule with that fourth Monday, but then also, and we'll briefly talk with each one of you, I think, at a different time about an alternative date for that, for our board meetings, possibly be on the second Monday. Which going through the schedule, I think the only one that had any sort of thing was Veterans Day. I don't know what that, effect. So there's the fourth Monday, unless indicated, which is what we traditionally had. And then the second table is what would be the second Monday.
I don't know if the financials can be ready by then. What do you think, Stephanie? Yeah. It's already pretty tight for me.
What's the concern then if we met in October, we saw August?
You can't act on things quick
You
enough.
don't want to see it that far behind.
Especially if it's tight this year, you don't want to be 2 months in arrears, because then you're not making a decision.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I can ask David, do y'all need to vote on this?
No, we won't vote on it.
Okay. So we can choose.
Okay.
Henry, if we watch the close as a finance committee and determine the need for it, would that be a proxy or do you still think it's
I don't know.
closer?
What do you think?
I don't know, I probably don't have enough repetition, but we'd have to be very engaged to say, we're in a tight spot, and then we'd have to be able to muster the board to make a decision. We need to be completely dependent on the finance.
Yeah,
This is some part.
just curious, what did you pick?
Possibly third Monday in the month.
Why did we say that?
I can't remember.
Um,
I think we were just trying to move it. I think we were trying to move it, when we were talking about it, we were trying to move it earlier in the month.
Yeah, it's the holidays.
Because to try to avoid the holidays, I
Okay.
mean, I suppose you
I
can.
just, I can't speak for him, I don't know for David.
Yeah.
It's just something to think about.
Will you scroll back up to the first chart? So that's what it looks like now. Of course, the August, September, October, move November to that first Monday of December. Not have a end of December. So we'll have that long jump between December 2nd and January 27th. February, March, April, and then that last one in May, move to June 2nd.
Part of it, Anne Marie, is that in the past, we've had this June board meeting, and then we don't have a July one because it's July. And so you're going from the end of June, which kind of closes out the year like we're doing now, to the end of August. And nothing really happens in July, but a lot happens in August. As opposed, and then sometimes we would call a special meeting to make a couple of decisions before school started.
Yeah.
So some of that conversation has been, well, what if we instead did it early in August? We could still skip July, the July 4th, timeframe. But if we're doing it earlier in the month, that gives us a meeting before school starts.
Could you just add an extra meeting? I mean, if you couldn't do that, just add one earlier.
If needed, you mean? Yeah, that's
Or
what
have
you-
it, or
that's
even
what
have
you-
it scheduled that way.
Yeah.
I mean, Stephanie's the one to be on a lot of legwork.
Yeah, it's just have to depend on like when banks, I get the bank statements,
Yes.
I mean, it's a very fast turnaround to get everything
Because the
in.
finance
The
committee
financials.
meets the week before,
Right.
yeah, and then we gotta have financials.
Thank you.
Right,
So,
and see, it would be really tight to try to keep it,
Yeah.
because the bank doesn't cut the statement until like the first day of the next month. And
Yeah.
if there's a holiday in that, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just tight when you do it that soon.
We leave it as the fourth, but on those months where we run into Memorial, go to the third, the third Monday.
The third Monday would be more realistic for myself and David to be able to have the financials
Yeah.
present to the finance committee.
Yeah.
And to have it accurate in time. But I can-
Okay, so, for purposes of now, let's leave it as the fourth, as what's up there on that one right there.
How about this? Second, third, or fourth Monday, does anybody have I cannot do ever the second Monday, third Monday? Does anybody have anything like that? So it's good to have options. So if you want to do the third or second.
We're not voting on it, to be honest, right? Is there any time that we have to have it, like, it just has to be posted before the first,
I think the district usually asks for you to upload your monthly calendar. It's one of their reporting requirements, but I don't know the deadline for that. Ms. Sherman, do you know any chance of the the district, I think, asks for the monthly calendar, but is that a report that you get to fill out?
Yeah, I don't think there's any state requirement.
I don't think it's a state requirement, I said the district had.
The district will want one, but they won't ask for it till August probably.
Okay, that's good.
Okay,
And we'll just load it on the website, they'll find it there anyway, once you vote.
Gotcha.
okay, so we will circulate through email some more conversation around what works best and with finance and, have a finalized. We'll confirm like if we finalize something with the school beforehand, but we'll present, at the next board meeting in a week. That's what this is. Okay. Stay tuned. Can we leave that then?
Well, yeah, why don't you work with Stephanie and
Yeah.
David and Maria and find out some of that information and then just, that we have second, third, and fourth as options, and then you call it, at least for the next one, and then we can go from there. Whatever you say.
And then I do have on there, as we had talked about in our, mini strategy sessions, that, before the next board meeting, or at least before we get too far into the school year, we'll have another, new board group strategy session, to give us some goals and strategies for the upcoming year. And we'll decide that date as well. Any questions, comments? Okay. Mr. Schmidt, thank you, Greg. Mr. Lincoln.
All right, our first thing is our quote. Most people have dreams, but their habits don't match their dreams. That becomes a problem. So we ask our administrative team and our teachers all the time, are your habits on par with your dreams? Because if your habits don't match up with your dreams, you're probably not gonna get there. Pretty much. All right, next up, Joe.
All right, so these are our updated numbers, 1206, like he spoke about earlier. If you look on the right-hand side there, this day last year, we were at 1186 registered. So, this year we have been ahead of the curve as far as this whole entire process. So that's a good thing. And then the potentials there is 123. So if you add the potentials to the ones we registered, we have a potential for 1329. We do have applications that keep coming in. Sometimes they come in small, sometimes they come in groups of 5. And so, that number is going to fluctuate as it does all year long. So, but yeah, we have the potential for 1329. Now, are we going to reach 1329? I don't think so, because historically what happens is some of those don't show up. But these are our numbers as we sit today.
Any questions on that? Earlier this morning, there was 137 on the list in 1192. Now there's 123 on the list in 1206. So our principals, we met again today, and our principals have been calling all day, talking to people, continue to call, emailing them. They're slowly coming in. We have a lot of them who have started but not finished. We're working on those first, the people who have started and haven't finished. Obviously, there's some interest there, and then we'll move to the other group. But our principals are working hard on that. We have been every week, and we're going to continue to work on that. Any questions? All right, moving on. Sandy's not here, so Gray is Human Resources tonight.
So we have a new employee to introduce. I'm going to actually pass this off to Ms. Goodlett.
Oh, thanks.
Introduce your new assistant principal.
So my new assistant principal came from Greenville County School District. She was a math teacher at Woodmont Middle School. She is a native of Simpsonville and a graduate of Hillcrest High School, a little time back. So I'm super excited to introduce her. Her name's Ashley Ayers. And here she is. Yeah, here.
We're excited to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Would you like to say anything, Ashley?
I'm just excited about this new opportunity. I can't wait to be here with everybody and learn from some of the best.
Thank you.
think Ashley's a former math teacher. In my experience, they turned out to be excellent administrators. Probably on good track.
Objective experience.
And then all our positions are filled except for elementary dance, which we have interviewed and offered to a candidate. We're just waiting on her to sign her contract, which should be tomorrow. And then we will have an employee orientation for our new employees. And that'll be July 17th at 10 o'clock.
The good news is this is the first time that I think ever in this history of this school that our elementary dance teacher will be a certified teacher. She is a dance major from Anderson University.
She came from Anderson.
And did you talk about the new employee? Okay.
New
All right.
employee at 10.
Moving on, Chartwells.
Chartwells, so we have to sign a new contract with Chartwells this year. They requested to increase the price. Originally, they wanted to move it up to $4.08 per lunch. We went back with them and asked if we could maybe meet somewhere in the middle. We understand that the cost of goods has gone up, but there were also some things that we wanted to see on our end, as far as some more meal options and getting more students through the line at a faster pace. As I had talked with students, that was kind of one of the things that I heard was normally at the beginning of the year we'll see we'll see more meals served because kids are trying it, and then when they see how long it takes to get through the line, then they just scratch it and go bring their own lunch. So they came back and said they would agree to $3 and I would say 99. I don't know how that works. 99.8 cents. As a math person, I guess that's $4. So almost $4 a meal. So they did come off that a little bit. We do have a new cafeteria manager, Amanda Glacken. Tammy and Mr. Sherman and I met with her and we told her some of our concerns. So we are going to add an additional line. Mike is going to run the power for that. Chartwells is going to pay for it with some investment money that they have, with the hope that we'll be able to serve more meals in that fourth line. It's going to go, Tammy can correct me if I'm wrong, it will basically be set up out in the expo area where the tables are. Is that correct? So that will help with the traffic flow and keep students out of there. Another thing that we're looking at is increasing the grab-and-go options that we offer at breakfast. Most of your reimbursement comes from lunch, but you do get reimbursed for breakfast as well. Right now, those numbers are kind of low. When we did the grab-and-go meals during COVID, they were very popular. A lot of the students, because it's mainly packaged stuff that doesn't have to be refrigerated, a lot of them will get it as breakfast, but they'll take it home with them and eat it for snack and things like that. So hopefully doing some things to increase meals served, which will make up for that price as well. Any questions about the contract piece before we talk about the community eligibility program?
I have two questions. One of them was, and I'm sorry for not getting my terminology right, we were shooting for a number at the beginning of the school year to try to have X percentage of people taking.
705 of them.
How did we do on that?
For the most part, we were right at the beginning of the year, we were way above that 705 a day. I started noticing November, December, we started dropping more back down to like 710, 715. By the end of the year, we had dropped a good bit back to like 680 to 700. I think a lot of that was due to the options that were being offered. So we've discussed that. This year, one of the big changes is last year we were only reimbursed at the higher rate of like for 84% of the free students that's on the direct cert list. We were only reimbursed at the higher rate for 84% of them, and 16% was reimbursed to us at the full pay rate. This year, our numbers have changed. So we will get reimbursed at 90% of those meals served at the higher rate and 10% of those meals served at the lower full pay rate. So I think that will help also to kind of equal that out a little bit. But we did start really high last year and it just
correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the quality of food was as good as the year.
It was not.
And that was gonna be my second question, and you and I emailed about that.
Yes, the quality of food did go down. We've discussed with them, even me and Stephanie had met and discussed with them about wanting a certain type of chicken and stuff like that. And we think with the fourth line, that will help us also keep stuff warmer and hotter and the quality of it being better as it's being served to the students. So we're,
What recourse do we have? I don't really know who I'm asking, but one of you three, I guess. What recourse do we have? Some of it was quality, some of it was quantity that just seemed to. What recourse do we have when we get in the last month of school and it just seems like they're like.
We
What they
do-
rolled out to us as a board and sold to us just didn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, so we go through the RFP process again next year. So I guess ultimately that's the recourse is, we're not tied to Chartwell's forever. They will have to bid it out again. And if we are not happy with their quality of or their chances of being renewed.
We will probably do that in October and probably have food tests for you all in January or February.
Yeah.
So you
Yes.
can make a decision way ahead of time.
Can I be on that committee this time? Nobody goes on that. They-
You can,
Skinniest
however,
person
yeah.
Ever on that, you don't put skinny
They
people.
bring out like 4 courses and the first 3 are the ones that don't have to meet the USDA requirements. And, the last one, by the time you're full and don't want to eat anymore, is the one that's actually served to kids. And it's always pizza, which is their best, just they think is their best thing that they can serve.
well, and two, with the serving sizes, by regulations, we have to serve certain amounts to certain age groups, which we actually serve more to the elementary than what we have to. Middle and high, we can serve them more, but that's probably gonna up our price with Chartwell's, because right now they are giving them the allotted servings that the state allows or that the government allows. But we're also hoping with some of the grab and go, we're gonna sell some extra things this year at a price like chicken sandwiches and nuggets and stuff. So we're hoping that a lot of them will take advantage and buy that stuff as well, so that they will be fuller. They kind of restrict us on how much we can serve. And they can come back and get a second plate, they just have to pay for it, but then you run into all kind of issues of they have to have money in there to pay for it. And it just,
To answer your question, man, we have talked with Chartwell's. They know that they're on the clock for our next RFP, and they know if we don't see some improvement, that we're gonna go with somebody that can give us what we're looking for.
Good, thank you.
definitely.
But you said in October, that'll be for the 25-26 school year. Sorry, Dr.
So kind of back to your original question. Is there a way to make sure on an annual basis we can reevaluate? Because that's kind of what it sounds like we might be stuck with. So it's not a 5-year
Well, we
contract.
can every year, depending on what kind of sort of contract we sign with a new company, we can sign a 1-year deal that re-ups every year. We can sign a 2-year deal.
Right now, we're on a year-to-year basis with Chartwell's.
Okay, so you could sign a longer one to get the benefit, the pricing. But if you're not getting what you want, give yourself an escape clause.
Yes.
It's kind of given an option to a lot of companies.
By the
do.
time the food quality went down, we didn't think we had time to do an RFP and get somebody in place. We just thought it would be too much of a problem at that point. And we knew we had to do it next year anyway. So we're gonna go with that.
Why did we have to do it next year anyway?
Because every 4 years you have to resend it out.
Every 4 years, you have to go up for bid.
Oh, that doesn't mean
For
it was a 4-year
procurement.
it wasn't a 4-year contract necessarily. It's a year to year, but we have to bid. I got
Because
you.
it's
Yes.
government.
I got those things confused.
And we can have Mary Allison reevaluate the contract and write it how we want it.
Hasn't the cost of food just skyrocketed? So how would they?
It has, but we've also received, some reimbursement because of the price skyrocketing. And because of certain things not being available and us having to buy a higher price food. So they have sent some reimbursement. It's under a supply chain assistance grant that they've sent out allocations for to help with that.
Is,
So the money's there, it's just not being used properly by them, is that what?
No, that actually came to us. But,
from USDA?
yes, from,
Some of it was from the state.
Yeah.
It's some pretty interesting math. It's not,
Yeah, he's a math guy, so he would.
yeah, well, let me just hop over to the second chart and I'll show you.
yeah, we've
Yeah,
been
so-
doing numbers.
So Chartwell's charges us a fee for the lunch, and then we're responsible for claiming the reimbursements. That's what Tammy was saying earlier, was you can get a certain, it's not a 1-for-1. Like they don't look at a kid and say, okay, you have this amount of full price kids, so you get reimbursed at this rate. It's just 90% get reimbursed at a certain rate.
And that's under CEP.
Yeah, so if you look back at this chart, the toughest thing is there's not, out of 6 years, there's not a single year where we have not changed a couple variables, which makes it hard to compare. So, these 3 years, we were doing it in-house. These 3 years, we were doing it with doing school lunch through Chartwell's. These 3 years, the federal government was saying that it was free for all. This is the year where we got the state funds for the increase in goods and supply chains being disrupted. So that made up some of the numbers there. If you come back here and look at the amount of lunches that we've served, we have really increased the amount of lunches that were served. And this year was lower, but our enrollment was also lower that year, which is why that was lower. So it's
The 2 years where you have the large money, that was federal and state aid, where we
Right.
made money. Everybody made money in USDA that year because they were reimbursing at almost $5 for a $4 meal.
Yeah, under COVID, they were reimbursing at a much higher rate, and that dropped off, I believe, last year.
If you look at the four red numbers, the 31, the 65, the 50, and the 25, the free lunch program, didn't have anybody we had to have outstanding debt on. In the other 3 years, there was outstanding debt. So even though it's not what we had hoped for, it still looks like it's cheaper than trying to collect money from people.
And based on that 90%, 10% flip-flop, we should do better next year, right?
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah, and
So
I think
we could be positive.
it's like I said, as I've sat here and pondered it, and of course, the other thing, that was the year we shut down in March, which made it hard to collect money from those
Well, and-
families that still owed it. But
Just about all of that money went outstanding because once we shut down, nobody paid. And then when we came back, federal government was feeding everybody free. So when I would try to call and collect money, everybody eats free.
Yeah.
So it was hard, and now they're just used to eating free and they don't want to pay, period.
yeah, I think these last 2 years are encouraging. They probably are the most similar. The fact that we went from being 50,000 to the negative to 25,000. We served, even though we're talking about not meeting that 700 number that we wanted, we were still 14,000 more than we did the previous year. So I think we are trending up. I think adding this fourth line is going to increase the number of meals we serve. We can get breakfast up. We have a new manager down there that, at least right now, seems to be listening to our concerns. I would expect that number to be smaller, and it's already once you throw out the two abnormalities, it's already the lowest debt we've had over the past 6 years. I think staying the course with what we've been doing is probably the best we can do.
Everyone around us is doing the free program, so we do not want to be in the anomaly.
We lost a lot of money on the budget when we did it ourselves.
Can I circle back to Amanda's question? Our our cost with Chartwell's is fixed. Once we agree on for that year, it's fixed. Correct.
Yes.
So if the cost of food goes up, will they serve us less food? They can't, right?
No, they're not allowed to. They
So-
have to serve what the state requires that they serve.
So when you mentioned a minute ago, it sounded like you said the state gives us money directly. Where does that money go?
So we apply for USDA reimbursement. Chartwell's does not do anything with USDA. That's Tammy's role is to fill out all that paperwork and do that. So, so we entered into an agreement with Chartwell's and say, we are gonna pay y'all $3.998 for every lunch you serve. There's also a snack and a breakfast.
And USDA reimburses whatever.
A different, but that's where I say the math gets complicated is, they give you a high rate that depending on your poverty level, you can apply to have X amount of your lunches. In this case, this year it was 84%, next year 90% will be able to get reimbursed. And that rate is higher. I can't remember it. I want to say off the top of my head, it's like $4.20 per meal. So that's where you kind of make your money.
Yeah.
Is it's higher than what we're paying Chartwell's, but you can't claim that rate for all of your meals. You only get them for 9%. And that's kind of where
So you're hoping to break even. But I thought you said the state, not USDA, the state.
yeah. So
also
one
gives
year,
money.
the state gave some extra money because of supply chain issues, but that was just a 1 year.
Oh, that wasn't
As
this
best-
year. Oh.
Yeah, as best I can tell, that was just a 1 year, one-off thing.
That's when nobody could find goods, and so they had to go outside and change.
Yeah, and Chartwell's, the way they bill us is a little odd, like for lunch. Every lunch we serve, they do charge us that fixed rate for every lunch, but then for breakfast and snack, they divide it by 3. So for every 3 breakfast or every 3 snacks, we're charged basically for 1, is the
One
way
lunch?
they do it. Not for lunch. Lunch is 1 for 1, but
What do they
breakfast
charge
and
us, 1 for
snack.
3? 1 meal for 3?
Yeah, on breakfast and snack, they divide it. Like if you look at one of our Chartwell's invoices, you can see where they multiply it by 3, or divide it by 3.
Divide that $3.3 and
Yeah, so that it's not, you're not being, it looks like we pay the same for all meals, like that $3.98 rate or whatever, but on those breakfast and snack that we get reimbursed less for, they divide it by that 3 to equal it out, I guess a little more.
That's helpful, thank you.
Do you see on your numbers when like the numbers served went down throughout the year? Do you have that broken down as opposed to like high school, middle school, elementary?
I can pull that up in the program that we use down there. I mean, I can go back and break it down to how many kids in what grade ate and if they were free, reduced, or full paid.
Just curious to see if the decrease in students getting lunch is in a certain area, or if it kind of.
I can go back and double check. I would say middle school's always been a huge group for eating. Most elementary eats, where we see some of that is high school, and some of what messed up I won't say messed up, but changed where we were 86% free is prior to CEP, we collected applications for free and reduced meals. Under CEP, you don't do that. You just go based off of the kids that come down on a direct cert list. So we had several kids that were considered free based off of income alone on their applications. Well, once we go to CEP, we don't collect those anymore, and the government then tells us who qualifies for free. And that's where some of that, because we did have several applications that were free based on just their income alone.
We've been told not to collect the free and reduced lunch forms because we're doing the CEP.
Yeah, we cannot
We
collect
did ask
those.
that question as well. Could we just do both to make sure we got everybody counted? We were told no.
Is that the form that determines, Title I? That form you're talking about?
Yes, it can be.
Title I is just pretty much determined on the direct. It's kind of done differently now than just free and reduced lunches.
But
In a
for
perfect
Title I,
world,
we have
those
an
numbers would be the
alternative.
same.
There's an alternative form that we can use for Title I, or for like, registration fees and stuff too. If we're not collecting applications.
And we do have that. We don't collect every registration fee based on that.
All right, any other questions for, Andy or Greg during this?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for putting this together and
That's a helpful.
sharing with us, yeah.
We got one more stop. All right, let me preface this. 3 years ago when I got here, I spent half my time looking for documents. I would bother Mary Allison, I would bother Rob or Matt or whoever, and I didn't know where any documents were. And it was very difficult to find things. It drove me absolutely insane. So I approached Joe at the end of my first year and I said, Joe, what would a database? And we looked at some examples and stuff you can pay $12,000, $15,000 a year for people to house it for you. Well, obviously we don't have that kind of money. So I said, Joe, what can you do? So he started working on it. Second year, we made some progress. This year, when we moved Gray up here, Gray was able to work with Joe on it some. We got to the point where we brought Mary Allison in and had Mary Allison go and make sure that everything we were putting on there was the latest and final draft. And now Joe has put all this stuff into one area. And the beauty about it is every time we change a policy or change anything, when Joe changes it in here, it changes it throughout Google. So the same, everybody will be seeing the same forms. So Joe, why don't you walk them through what you have built here and what this looks like and how this is helpful to not just us, but to the board and to everybody.
I hope, Joe. All right, so it's you can pull it up on your phone, regular computer, tablet, whatever.
Will you go back to the beginning and show them how to get there?
Yeah, so it's hpaspark.com is the website. So this is the main page here. So it's just a shortened version of hpaspartanburg.com. And Connie, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a link on our website to that, or no?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. So we're going to eventually get that on our main website. To point here, we are slowly migrating on the main website, pointing existing documents to this new location. So eventually the main website and this will be synced together. So the main idea here is when I first did this, it was a very painstaking, slow process. Wanted to step it through small steps, make sure everything's right. And so there was no search capabilities, but I have just recently added search capabilities. I'll show you that here in a second. But the main page, when you go through, is just an introduction. It kind of briefly tells you, what to expect with this site, how to navigate. But then there's the index that I have built, and this is, I guess, what I would refer to as a living document. So within the Google shared drive, those who have access to this right now, this particular document only I have access to. But when it gets edited, then it'll go live on the website. Everybody can see it. So as we add documents, if we need to add documents, then it'll go live for everybody. And like he was explaining, whenever an official document, let me back up a little bit. In the past, what would happen is there would be official documents created, but then maybe that person who created it left High Point, and then their account got disabled. And when that happened, that document's gone. Everybody loses access. Then you got to track down who made that document. Now I got to go reactivate their account, grab that document, share it with someone else. So that was just a big nightmare. So what we did instead was a shared drive. And with the shared drive, as opposed to an individual folder in Google, the shared drive, all documents contained are owned by the domain. So even if somebody leaves, that document stays put in that position, in that spot, with all the permissions that were created for that document. So whenever somebody edits that live document, then here on this page, they're going to see that. There is a thing called TTL, time to live. And so most servers have their TTL as 1 hour. So it could be an hour later before you see that live update, but it's pretty quick. But for this index, you can just scroll through here, put it in alphabetical order. if you're looking for, accident claim form, you click the link for the accident claim form, it'll take you straight there. And each document has the ability to also, you can click and download a PDF version of that document if you want it. And then you got a copy of that as well. But the idea is to, again, when you send links out to documents, instead of it being, oh, that's an old link, oh, now there's 5 versions different now, you always got the truth source here of the actual real official document. Let me go back one. And over here, I just try to do some coding to make it more relevant for the documents to find. And so like all policies will start with a P, and then depending on which policy, so for school board, it's an A, and then underneath the school board, there's other items. So for communications policy, it would be PAAA. Just that kind of breakdown. But again, that introduction here explains that. And then also the index kind of explains it as well. But as you scroll down here, you got policies, you got rules, and then further down, you got documents. And so try to categorize it in the documents section, the documents that are the main thing people look for. So like handbooks, that's a big thing. Parents want to look at that handbook. So you can click the handbook, go straight to the elementary handbook, and then you'll have that version here. You can scroll down, and again, every single one of these has their own link. So if you click it, then you can download that document. But then the last thing I wanted to show was the thing I worked the hardest on most recently was the search. And this is something we'll keep adding to. I've got a couple people help me with this because although I might search for a document one way, another person might think of a different keyword to search for that document. So the more people I get that say, hey, I tried to find this document and I couldn't find it, they're like, well, what did you search for? Well, then I can add that keyword in to help people find things better. But just as an example, if I'm looking for supply lists, type in supply lists, hit search. Well, there you go. There's every single supply list that we have up on our website. But maybe they only care about middle school. You click on middle school, well, now it just gave you everything relevant to middle school. And those, like I said, those lists will grow and mature as we make better keyword search terms and stuff. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
The organization and the time put into this is incredible. This may be our greatest achieving crown right now, is putting all this in one place. Now, teachers don't have to bother us and ask us. Board members can go on and look at policies. They don't need to ask anybody. They don't need to bother Mary Allison. Mary Allison will get with Joe every time a new policy's passed and make sure that Joe has it so we can put it on here. And then it becomes part of the domain, and we don't have to worry about anything being lost ever again. So this is just incredible for our parents and for our teachers and for everybody, and Joe and Gray and Connie. I don't know who else has worked on this. I know Mary Allison has as well. I thank you all for giving us something that for once we now know where everything is. We have a one-stop shop for everything we do, and people pay $12,000 to $15,000 a month for this type of thing, and Joe has built this from the ground up. And Joe, thank you for you and your team and what you've done to benefit our school. Any questions?
Well, I just want to echo the same. It's very great, very helpful. Appreciate all your time and effort. I do have a question. When, like, if you wanted to search for something because you want to email it to somebody, you just download it and then email it, or is there like a?
Yeah, so you can, if you're trying to give them a link to it, you can either, let's just say the accident claim form. So you can either download it and then send that attachment to them. Or what I usually typically do is I just grab this link up here and I Control-C, copy it, and I paste that in my email.
Gotcha.
Now send them to this spot to where if they want to download it, they can. Because the reason I would recommend that way is because, I don't know, it might be 2 weeks later, maybe somebody updated the form. And so if you give them the link to it, then if the document does change, when they go to download it, they'll get the most recent version.
That's great. It's very
No
good.
question.
I know a lot.
No more questions?
It's great, super organized. It's gonna need for a long time. Brian's been talking about it for at least 2 years. And, it's great. You did really good. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks to everybody who helped Joe work on that. Incredible undertaking. But I just feel better knowing I don't have to bother Mary Allison all the time looking for documents.
She charges.
No.
This is free.
So thank you all for your efforts and everybody who has worked on that. And that is the conclusion of my report.
Wonderful. Any questions for Mr. Sherman or his team from that this evening? Great. Thank you very much. Tia, are there any public comments? Anything
Yes,
else?
Brian. Hey, Joe, when somebody has an updated form, did they just send it to you?
So those who need to edit documents they already know where to edit those documents. But yes, if it's completely new one that you don't have, that's never existed before, then yeah, you would send it to me, and then we would get it added. I'm assuming you were referring to like board stuff.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Okay, yeah, just send it to me and I can get it added in the right spot.
Yep. Excellent.
Great. All right, do we have a motion for executive session for pending contractual matters and arrangements and personnel matters?
So moved.
Who's that? Thank you. Is there a second?
Come on, man, get on board, it's your last night.
Amanda, what you on there? All in favor? Aye. All right, we're in executive session. Amanda, Anne Marie, and Connie, can we take a back to that picture? Take a picture with Amanda and Anne Marie. Sure. I saw you taking it and I got in the way. You were instant.
The vinyl?
Thanks a lot, Jen. Really.
Yeah.